Hi there. Welcome back to Metanoia of the 20s, our podcast about how we leave the crisis and everything that comes into our lives in our 20s. Today we have a very special guest, my dear friend Duygu. She's from Turkey and she's live from the UK right now. She has agreed to come talk with us about loss and grief in the 20s, how we navigate the life's toughest moments that we may face during this 10-year gap that we have. So Duygu, thank you so much for taking the time and being with me today and talking about this important and sometimes maybe awkward subject, but I think it's really important that we share some insights about it. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. For having me. Hello, everyone. And I'm honored to be here. And I think this is a really important topic to talk about and discuss together openly. And loss and grief, don't discriminate by age. In our 20s, it's really hard and challenging period for all of us, I guess. And today, talking with you about navigating loss will make us feel better, I believe. And thank you for having me again.
Yes, of course, it's my pleasure. We have talked about a lot of subjects that we could talk on the podcast, and you are the one guest that was so excited to be here, and I'm super happy that we finally found the time to do this. So we're just gonna dive into the subject, and it's sometimes a little bit awkward to talk about it, especially if you have lost someone, if you have been through grief. I think that's the only way you can actually understand how it feels. About the personal experiences in particular and why I chose this subject and we were talking about it a lot is because I think that once you lose someone that's close to you, you can actually, I'm not gonna say not recover, because I feel like we can recover from loss, but I don't think we can ever forget. And I think that's really important to put on the table right now. Like, it's not a process, like it ends at some point, I think, at least from my experience. So I don't know what's your experience with it. If you like to share something about what you've been through, maybe an experience of loss and grief, whatever you feel comfortable about sharing.
Yes, certainly. When I was not 20s, but I was just 19, just before my 20s. I lost my father, and my father was not sick, and his death was unexpected. And at that time, I was organizing an event at my university and planning to make a surprise for my family, for my dad, for my mom, make them proud at the event by making the opening speech and thank them to always being there for me. But one of them, my dad, wasn't there for me anymore, couldn't be there. Even I couldn't be there. The event that I was planning to do opening speech at was just 2 days ago from my dad passed away. So I wasn't knowing that it was the last time I saw my father and kind of things. But it impacted me numerous different ways. But first thing I could realize, it made me realize that, and we don't know how much time still we have with our loved ones to make them happy or proud or trusted. I just could understand this one firstly. We shouldn't wait to be perfect and really make something make them proud. We just need to do it in every little chance that life offers us and give some opportunities to do that. I just could understand that. But in our graduation ceremony, I did that. And I said to memory of my father, I want to do this speech. Maybe he wasn't there, but I believe kind of energies and things, and I did my thing, and I'm happy about that. Yeah, it's like that.
Wow, Duygu, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that it's not easy to to talk about something like that, even if it happened ages ago. I don't think it's ever easy to talk about losing a parent, especially when it happened with you being young. You mentioned that you weren't that young, but I think you were, because I don't think we are ever prepared to lose a parent, because we think they're gonna be there for us forever, and it's really hard when we go through that situation. And especially, like you were saying, in your case, you didn't expect that to happen, like he wasn't sick, so it must have been a shock. But I'm really happy, on the other hand, to hear you say that, like, on our last graduation, you were able to feel his energy. And I'm pretty sure, I believe the same thing, that his energy, his, I don't know, his spirit or something like that was there definitely for you. Once I heard that when a parent dies before the child dies, not the soul itself, not like a ghost thing, but like the energy or the spirit or something like that stays near the children until the last children dies. And I heard beautiful.
And we carry something still, like, from them, like kind of energy, like, I believe as well.
And that's really beautiful. Like, you will always have that part of your dad within you, and I think you're gonna carry that forever, and that's really beautiful. And the memories and everything is not gonna go away. In my case, I feel like the memories were one of the things that I was most scared of. In my case, I also lost my mom when I was 13. I also didn't expect her to die so young, because she was kind of young. She was about to turn 40, if I'm not mistaken. And she suffered from depression. So I honestly didn't expect her to leave, because she was healthy, like in normal standards. But it was also really sudden. And I think that when you lose a parent at that age, you don't find it real, especially when it's sudden. Like, you still expect them to come through the door and say like, oh, it was a joke. But it's like, no, it's real. And at some point you start realizing when is he or when is she coming back. So it was also really hard for me to understand that. And I somehow feel like, I don't know if the same thing happened to you, but years afterwards, I feel like I grieved more than on that moment. I feel like it's after.
Because, like, same, because you have the moments and you are looking for something from your mom or your dad, but like it's late, like not late, but that isn't there. Like, I don't know, it's really different feeling. Like, I know what you are saying. I hear you.
Yes, it's hard. It's like, I don't know if this happened to you as well, but I did want to mention it because I read somewhere that it happens with people who are going through grief, but there's this idea or this hope that it's not real, and it's kind of a denial. And sometimes, for example, in my case, I used to dream a lot, like my mom would come back home from a trip, like with luggage and everything. And you feel that emotion of saying like, wait, weren't you gone? But at some point within the dream, they leave the room or they leave again. And you feel that despair, that sadness, that sinking feeling, and it's worse. And I remember at some point, close to my 20s, I used to wake up crying, feeling like, oh my gosh, it's happening like all over again. What's real? What's not real? And that's, I feel like the point where I was like sadder, like I couldn't accept it really. It was really hard at that point. I don't know if something similar happened to you.
Yeah, kind of similar, but not in my dreams, but I did also denying periods, but like in my real life. I just thought that for example, I'm in university, like in my campus and in my dormy, but he's at home, but he wasn't at home. But I was thinking kind of like long distance way, like for like maybe 6 months to 1 year maybe, I was thinking that when I go back home, I will see him again, but it wasn't the scenario. Like I was trying to like make my feelings a bit smoother about that. I didn't expect like how can I say? Actually, I couldn't accept the situation and my feelings about that. It was a bit like heavy for me at that moment, and I just chose the way and denying and put a different scenario at that moment. But after that, I just needed to face it again, because like another loss in my life, it wasn't a like the passed away scenario, but I lost a people from my life, and it made me again like to defend myself. I tried to deny again, but it was the most difficult time for me. I cried a lot. I felt all of the feelings and emotions. I was trying to just like deny and defend myself and put another scenarios around, but it didn't work. It was much more like strong things in my heart and all of feelings. Yeah, I know that feeling.
That I feel like I feel you completely. And I also want to bring one thing that you were mentioning, that you also lost people in your life that maybe didn't die, but you lost. And that's also a sort of grief, a sort of loss that we go through. It could be with friends, with a relationship, with anything, even with family. And it's really hard because I don't know, like I cannot put like say which one is worse, but it's like you can see them again and you know that they're there. And somehow it's like, at least with the people who die, you know that they're not with you because they cannot be with you. But with the others,
that's the point.
It's like no, I mean they're still here, but they cannot be here with me as they were. And it's hard. Like, what if you see them on the street again one day? And it's like, oh. But I grieve for you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's the reason I feel sometimes like, oh, because of you feeling. It's like tragicomic. Yeah, really, I don't know.
Exactly. It's complicated. It's really tragic, and sometimes it's I feel like sometimes I don't know if I should laugh or cry, so I laugh cry, but
laugh cry. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. It's hard. Both is hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just navigating life with that.
Exactly. And how was your process of healing through that? Like, how did you cope with that loss?
It was a really long journey, I can say. But firstly, kind of denying period. It just came. And after that, with my family's support, it's about our culture. At the first moment, like in Turkish culture, like we have kind of unique traditions, and all kind of traditions help me a lot. Like our loved ones provide us like so much support. Like they are bringing foods, and like they are staying with us, like trying to make us more comfortable. And usually like first 40 days they are always with us, and that helped me a lot actually, because I wasn't feeling that my dad is not here, because like I was so like, how can I say, not busy but always with people, and they are trying to make me more comfortable. At first 2 months maybe I couldn't understand. After that I denied, and after that I was feeling something is missing in my life. and but not like so obvious way. But maybe 1 year later, I just decided to move to the UK for pursuing my master's degree and learning English kind of stuff. And I just was looking for some books for reading in English, and I just found option B book actually. Maybe my mom just bought for us, I don't know, but I just found option B book, and maybe it's the most perfect book to read about, like, to navigate loss and like moving forward about that. It helped me a lot. After reading the book, I could understand that, like, I need to be grateful. I have my family still, my mother, my brother. I need them. They need me, and I need to be more appreciate about that. And all my journey, the book helped me a lot, I can say, and the loved ones like friends and family helped me a lot. But I also have some psychological support, but it was really late, 2 years later, and they said me, you need to write some stuff because you are denying in your head. It's not a loss, but you need to understand that, and your feelings, you miss your father, you need to write it down. And I tried to write it down, and my tears came along. Actually, writing and reading helped me a lot. Kind of practicing things, like, definitely we need to do that. Like, I was thinking, okay, I will read and I will write. Okay, what will change? Like, my emotions and my feelings. But I can see right now they help me a lot. Yeah. And I want to ask you, do you have the same kind of things? Like, they are saying that you need to write or talk or like do something, like just put your voice out about that. Don't feel just in your heart, just about like kind of stuff. What about yours one?
Yeah, I actually share a lot of the things you were saying. My process was similar in the last part. In my case, I didn't accept that my mom was gone. I don't know. I think until I was in university somehow, because I used to actually think, like, I mean, I knew it. I knew that she was gone, but in my case, my parents weren't together, so I didn't live with my dad after my mom died. So it was a huge change for me because I used to live just with my mom. So I had to move out and live with my aunt, my mom's sister. So it was a huge change for me in a lot of ways. And I still thought, like, in my mind, my mom was working abroad. In my mind, like, I created this whole story, this narrative where she wasn't really gone, where at some point she was gonna come back. And plus the dreams and everything else, it was like, no, I'm just gonna finish high school, I'm just gonna go into college, and everything will be back to the same way that as it was. But when I entered college and I didn't have the support that my mom would obviously give me, I realized that it was actually happening. And I entered this denial/anger void of feelings, and just I created, like, the same way that you were mentioning, like, you enter this phase where maybe it's defensive, like a protective mechanism where you don't want to get hurt again. Because you know you can get hurt again. You have already suffered enough to know that it could happen again. People can leave. And somehow I started building this huge wall in front of me where I didn't want anyone to get close to me. So that was like my college years, where I was like setting my mind to going abroad by myself, to be alone, to actually get to know the world and travel and everything. But it was mostly because I wanted to be on my own, because I didn't want anyone else. I didn't want to lose anyone else. And when I was about to finish my university undergrad, my dad got cancer and he also passed away. So that was when I was, I think, 18, 19 as well, same as you. And it was also like this time I saw it coming somehow because he was really sick and it was like kind of a longer process. But I didn't realize that I was actually without mom and dad until like a couple of years later when the pandemic came. And that was my lowest point because being completely alone during the pandemic, because I moved out and I lived alone with my best friend, but still like alone, independently. It struck me that I was completely alone because I'm an only child and I didn't have that support. And it hit me so bad that I didn't, like, I got COVID, but it wasn't so bad. The COVID wasn't so bad, but kind of like the sadness that came with it, it was bad. So that was the first time, like, I don't know, like 7 years after I lost my mom or a little bit more, that I went to therapy. And that's the point where I feel like I started healing. I cannot say that I healed completely. I sometimes, even now, I still feel like I need to heal more. I still find new things, new demons, like one could say, within me. But I still feel like that process of 2 years of therapy was really helpful for me, because she also did the same thing that you're mentioning, like write letters, talk about it, like say what you want to say to them, and just like talk, don't keep it inside. And that helped me a lot. And actually, I didn't read that book, but I'm actually gonna look it up, the one that you were mentioning, option B, right?
Yeah, option B.
I'm gonna look it up. But also reading helped me a lot. In my case, I started reading more about like self-help books too, but that was afterwards. But to be 100% honest, I started reading a lot about like teenage books, like Divergent and Harry Potter and stuff like that, and the Hunger Games. But I got to a point where I was like, I never mentioned this, but I feel like it's important, because the point where I was, I don't know if you've watched the show, the movies, or you've read the books, but the Divergent saga,
I haven't seen
it's one of the best. You should watch it. I mean, I love it.
I will.
But I read the books, and like, I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't, but at the end of the dies. I'm not gonna say, but someone dies. And the perspective from which the author tells the story, it's not from the outside. I mean, she tells it, of course, from the people who see the person dying, but she tells it as well from the person who is dying. And that struck me in a way that I didn't expect it to hit me. Like, I started crying so badly when I got to that point, like reading that part, and I was like, oh my gosh, so that's how it feels. Like, that's how a person actually feels when they're dying. Like, not for itself, but it's hard. Like, I never expected that. Like, you see yourself from that perspective, like, oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, I know what loss is. I know what it's like to, but what is it like to be gone? And that made me feel really differently, and it gave me that same thing that you were mentioning at the beginning, that like that will of living, like you still have things to live for, you still have things to heal for. And I know it's just like a saga, but it helped me a lot. Like, honestly, that those 3 books helped me a lot within the process. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we're still healing, but somehow it's like a journey where, I don't know if there's a point, like I was saying at the beginning, where we actually heal 100%, but I feel like we can get closer to that number, like with the years coming, and we learn more about ourselves. I don't know, it's hard, but I feel like somehow it makes us grow up a little bit faster.
Yeah, but we will miss like more as well. I don't know. Like 100% is impossible, as you mentioned, like really impossible. But like at least like about like empathy or kind of understanding people, like importance of sharing. Yeah, everyone like knows kind of values in a different way, can learn. But this way also is kind of like so empathic, and how can I describe it? I don't know, but I'm feeling like much more closer to the people around me, because not just because of this, but it changed my way actually, and it gave me something, like in a positive way as well, maybe the negative way, like, but we shouldn't focus this side, like, I don't know, but in a positive way it gave me something, I'm sure, and I'm feeling kind of not responsibility about that, but it happened and I need to do something about that, like to make it more positive for me. I don't know, maybe it's so optimistic way to think about that, but end of the day, yeah, we need to find some positive things about, and like also to sharing things with the like people they have same experience. It's like also help us to understand deeper and like feeling something special, same. I don't know. I didn't know about your story. We just talked about we need to talk about it, but we didn't know our stories. But I'm feeling kind of like special connections. Like, how can I don't know. What do you know what I'm saying? But it's also so special to have, and not everyone can have it like in a different ways. Yeah, I don't know, but it made me so emotional and like also the proud about ourselves.
Yes, I totally agree with that, and I totally understand that sometimes you don't need to put it within words, but I do understand that like you find a connection with the people who have been through the same thing, and at the same time, it's like, I mean, of course, it's sad that it happened. It's bad, but at the same time, I feel like the way that I see it, or I try to see it, is that if that didn't happen on the moment that it happened, I wouldn't be here right now. Like,
Yeah.
I try to see the butterfly effect there. And that's also one of the reasons that I chose to do this program. Because, like you said, I need to do something with that. So I like to share that story, because sadly, the one thing that it's certain within our lives is that at some point it's gonna end. And that's gonna happen to a lot of people, to everyone. Everyone is gonna experience loss at some point. So if we can share these stories, these experiences, and maybe someone can relate to them, and maybe they can find help not 2 years later, not 7 years later, but maybe it's gonna be easier for them. So I feel like I'm also really proud, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's hard. I know we didn't talk about this before, just so everyone about this knows. We didn't talk about it before. We wanted to make it live, and it's really emotional. It's really hard to talk about it, to remember it. But I also think it's brave to be able to talk about this and share these kind of experiences. So thank you so much for being able to do that, to have the time to talk about this kind of stuff, and to make it on a positive note, like you were saying. It's really hard to do that. The easiest way to do it would be to like victimize ourselves and just keep going on that note. And that's not right. Like, we're trying to rise above it. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like, how can I say people like I'm not comfortable to talk about. Sometimes I'm saying that, like, not sometimes, not generally, kind of always I'm saying that, because like I'm seeing the people will be upset because of me, and I don't wanna like lowering their moods, or kind of like they are trying to find the right words, but it's not important for me. Sometimes I just wanna share, but I don't wanna like. Oh, how can I describe this feeling? I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not comfortable to talk about it. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. Kind of stuff I'm just saying. But you also gave me this chance to talk about it, really. It was really, really different and new thing for me to talk about, and with your listeners as well. And thank you so much for that. And I hope our conversation today helps the others and your listeners and feel better about that, less alone, and gives them some help. And I definitely check it out, your movie. And I'm really curious about that. And Option B is really good book to read about this stuff, and it helps a lot. And if you also have same experience and lost someone in your life, you can give it a go. It's really nice book, and it will definitely resonate with you. And thank you so much, Ale. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Duygu. It was amazing. Thank you again for taking the time. I know it's super late there right now, but
yeah, thank you as well. You are everywhere around the world, and we did it.
Yes, and we still have a couple of podcasts to talk about, because Duygu is here with me in a couple more podcasts. So you guys are gonna see her a lot more. We have a lot of things to talk about. So
and this time is fun stuff.
Yes.
Really fun one.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to be sharing a lot of nice topics that actually should be recommended. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us and our experiences, our stories. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.
Bye.